Hi everyone and welcome back to Newegg TV. My name is Paul and today I am very excited to be announcing the brand new release of a brand new video card in NVIDIA's brand new 700 series of graphics cards. That would be the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 780, which is, I'm sorry, that's a Titan. That's the 780. Now there is a reason why I have this side by side with the Titan, and if it's not obvious, well, it's because these cards share many similarities from a design standpoint, as well as the GPU inside, which is the GK110, which was lauded for its initial release to the public, at least in a gaming card with the Titan. They've carried that over to the GeForce GTX 780 right here. So you'll notice a lot of specs that kind of run parallel between the two, although the 780 doesn't exactly match up to the Titan specs in all regards. However, you will notice essentially the same design of the unit itself. So we have the metal aluminum housing, of course, polycarbonate window right here, supremely balanced blower style fan right there that's going to provide you a very quiet gaming experience overall. I can tell you that I've been working with the Titans a lot, even in 3-way and 4-way configurations, and even with that amount of heat being generated by the cards, the fans still stay nice and quiet even when they're under load. Now the 780 is designed for some specific use case scenarios, again, much like the Titan. The Titan is actually billed by NVIDIA as not being a card that's designed for 1080 gaming. And while the 780 will pretty much destroy any modern game that you might want to play at 1080, you're still going to get excellent performance going beyond that. So 2560 by 1440, 2560 by 1600, you're going to get excellent performance across any games that you might be playing, and you're going to get the ability to really max out the eye candy and the additional settings in your game. So tessellation, physics, anti-aliasing such as NVIDIA's TXAA and FXAA. You're going to find excellent compatibility as well as excellent performance with these cards, just as you would with the Titan. That's thanks, of course, to the GPU, the clock speeds, as well as the memory and the memory bandwidth that you have, but I'll get into specs in just a moment. You also have compatibility with NVIDIA's Geforce Experience, and if you guys haven't tried that out, it's software, you can download it, and that will help you automatically set up optimal settings for a lot of the games that you play. NVIDIA is constantly adding to that, as well as increasing the, upgrading the features. In fact, there will be this summer introducing a feature that allows you to actually record 20 minutes of gameplay just on the fly. So as you're playing, you can stop if you have an excellent moment in the game, jump back, and automatically have video recorded of that. So it's going to be great for headshot montages, as I imagine, as well as lots of other streaming video type functionality. Apart from that, though, you do also get GPU Boost 2.0, and that's another feature that was introduced with the Titan. This allows you to automatically overclock your graphics card, and it actually bases it on a temperature target rather than a power target like the original version of GPU Boost worked. Temperature target basically allows you to plug in a temperature for the card, and then the card will automatically overclock itself up to the limits of that temperature target that you put in. It works really well. It gives sort of a different means of overclocking if you guys haven't tried it out. Yeah, I recommend trying it. It's definitely a feature that, since it was introduced with the Titan, I've really been looking forward to NVIDIA releasing it with additional cards. So for the 700 series now, with the flagship card in this lineup being launched, we now have GPU Boost 2.0 capabilities as well. Another thing going along with GPU Boost 2.0 that they have also carried over for the Titan is the ability to overvolt. So overvoltaging is one of those features that not everyone jumps into. It can be slightly more dangerous when it comes to actually overclocking a card, but when Titan was launched, that was something that enthusiasts were really happy about, that NVIDIA had actually also included the ability to overvolt, and they have kept that going with the GTX 780. Let's see. I've already talked a little bit about the cooling in the fan, but again, we have pretty much the exact same cooling solution here. You got the blower style fan right here. This also has adaptive temperature control. So what that's going to do is actually going to keep the fan spinning at a more stable speed, and that will essentially keep you from hearing the fan spinning up and spinning down. If you've ever had a computer where you suddenly put a load on the system, you hear the fan spin up, even though it might not be going up that high of RPMs, the difference there is really what provides the noise. So adaptive temperature control is another feature that NVIDIA has launched along with the 780. So that will also be integrated. And then you have cool and quiet operation overall. We actually have a copper vapor chamber, which is down at the base of this cooling solution, as well as a dual slot aluminum heatsink, which you can of course see through the polycarbonate window. And then of course that blower fan, which is going to stay nice and cool. Now I shall do a little bit more of a direct comparison here with our Titan, since we do have that available to kind of show side by side. And here, once again, you can see extreme similarity between the two cards. In fact, even the PCB layout itself is essentially the same. There are one or two very, very minor differences as far as the actual componentry that is installed. The most obvious one being over here on the Titan, you will see all of the memory chips, since the Titan ships with 6 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM. The 780 here comes equipped with 3 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM, so that is primarily on the opposite side of here, where it's going to get a bit of extra benefit from being right near the vapor chamber and the air moving over the cooler. You also, of course, have the same GPU, so the GPU being right here at the center of that little square, at least on the opposite side of that. That's the GK110. The only difference here is you got the GK110-300 on the 780. You got the GK110-400 on the Titan. And I know I'm showing you the back of these cards, so you might not even be able to tell which is which, but this is the 780 right here. Again, very, very similar between the two of those. And essentially what you get with the 780 is you get the GK110-300, so that gives you 12 SMX units. So those are the building blocks of the Kepler architecture. Each SMX unit features 192 CUDA cores. So with the Titan, you had 14 SMX units that gave you 2,688 CUDA cores. With the 780, you have 12 SMX units that gives you 2,304 overall. So still no slouch at all, and still up from the 1,500 or so that was available on the GTX 680. Apart from that, you also get 192 texture units, 48 ROP units. You also have a base clock of 863 megahertz, a boost clock of 900 megahertz, and that is again a slight difference from the Titan. The Titan was clocked a little bit lower than that, but out of the box you will get a bit higher clock speeds off of the 780. However, I can say again, whether you're talking about the Titan or the 780, with the Titan, even though the clocks were listed at below 900 megahertz, when you actually use the card and when you actually implement GPU Boost 2.0, you tended to get higher than that, and I can say with overclocking, you can easily surpass 1,000 megahertz, or 1 gigahertz, depending on how you like to phrase that. So base clock on the 780 of 863, boost clock of 900. You also have the same memory clock speeds and memory capability going with the from the 680, I should say. So 6,008 megahertz effective memory clock. That's 1502 quad pumped. You also get a 1,536K L2 cache. Total VRAM of 3,072 megabytes, GDDR5. And that gives you a total, and I should say that's on a 384-bit memory interface, and that's another one of the things that's really going to help out with eye candy effects such as anti-aliasing, and that gives you a total memory bandwidth of 288.4 gigabytes per second, which is pretty insane. This is, of course, maintaining the Kepler architecture that we saw with the 600 series, but of course going with the GK110 GPU, which is the as far as we know, the best and biggest of the Kepler-based GPUs. That's based on the 28-nanometer fabrication process with 7.1 billion transistors packed into one GPU, which is, again, kind of difficult to fathom when you talk about that large of a number and that small of a space. I should also mention, we, of course, are continuing the display capabilities that were featured starting with the 600 series. So you have the ability to push 4 displays out of this same video card. You can use 3 for gaming. You can use the 4th as a companion display for non-3D applications. You have 2 dual-link DVI connectors right there. Bear in mind the top one here is going to be digital only. The bottom one will use digital and also has the analog connection. So if you do have a VGA monitor that you're going to connect to this card, well, shame on you a little bit, but I understand. But you can use an adapter with this lower plug right there. Then, of course, over on this side, you have the HDMI as well as a full-size DisplayPort connector. We should continue and talk about form factor a little bit more. This is maintaining a dual slot configuration, so you're only going to take up 2 slots in your system. When you actually have it installed, you're probably going to be getting a nice view of this side of the card. And yes, the GeForce GTX logo does still light up, and it is still capable of the lighting there's some sort of extra features with lighting. You can see there's some videos out that will talk about how to play with the lighting. You can do a glowing sort of on and off throbbing glow function for the light. So that's pretty cool. Adds a bit more eye candy to your system. So again, dual slot card. This also has a 250 watt TDP, which is again quite impressive considering the amounts of GPU horsepower that you have in there. So the TDP, of course, is the amount of thermal, or the amount of heat that the cooling solution is required to be able to dissipate. But of course, that's going to be handled very nicely by the GTX 780's heatsink fan, I should say. Also over here for power requirements, you have one 8-pin and one 6-pin, again, just like the Titan. And NVIDIA is recommending, at minimum, a 600-watt power supply for this video card, as well as your entire computer system. And that is going to wrap it up for our first look at the new NVIDIA GeForce GTX 780 based on the GK110 GPU with the Kepler architecture. I should mention that if you are interested in this particular design right here, this is the reference design, so this should be available right out of the gate. And I hear from NVIDIA we should also be expecting custom designs from their add-in card partners. I'm Paul with Newegg TV, and if you enjoyed today's video, well, you should subscribe to our Newegg TV YouTube channel. You should also like the video, because that helps us out a lot. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.